We are continuing on Mesechet Avodah Zarah, and we are on Daf Samech Bet, Amud Aleph, the first wide line. Today's Amud is being learned. The Schud Rufa Shelema, Rachel Simcha Bad Nahid. I should have full recovery, B'ezrat Hashem, Amen. We are in the beginning of Perek HaSocheret HaPoel, the fifth and final Perek of Avodah Zarah. We started talking about the schar, the payment that the person gets for working with a Oved Kochavim, handling Yain Nesech, handling actual Yain Nesech that was poured for Avodah Zarah. Even though that you're not buying and selling, you're just working for the person as the delivery man, still it will become Asur be Hara'ah, the schar, the payment that you get is also asur. We went through a back and forth in the Gemara to try to understand why would this be asur, despite the fact that all the other isurei hana'ah, they are not going to be asur when you get paid for working for them. If you marry a woman with the payment of orla or kila'eh hakerem, even though that selling them it will be asur, still will be mutar not mutar, but still she will be married when you say Hara'at Mekudeshet. Even by Shvi'it, which is Tofes Damea, we mentioned that it's not going to be a problem when you work for someone to deliver goods of Perot Shvi'it. And the Gemara's Maskala was, you're correct, technically speaking, it shouldn't be Asur. The reason that it is Asur is Kenas. It's a rabbinic fine. They fined the person that will work with Yain Nesech because of the importance of Yain Nesech. But the Gemara, mentioning this, it said another example also, but Yain Nesech, and Chamarin, the delivery people, the movers, so to speak. Chamarin back then was the moving companies, right? Moving companies also are included in this fine, in this knas. So Gemara says, fine, Yain Nesech, Hadamaran. We know what Yain Nesech is, we just spoke about it. Chamarin Mahi, what is the case of the delivery? So says the Gemara, the Tanya, we learned in the Braita, HaChamarin shayu osin melacha beperot shvi'it, a delivery person that is delivering goods of Shvi'it, my scharan, what is their schar that they get paid from the owner of the business? Shvi'it. Their schar is very ambiguous, very cryptic language. The Chamarin, the delivery companies that they deliver Perot Shvi'it, their payment is Shvi'it. What does it mean, Scharan Shvi'it? Ilema, the Avian lo schar mi Perot Shvi'it. If you want to suggest that we pay them by giving them some of the Perot Shvi'it, some of the fruits of Shvi'it, can't be. Why? Because what happens when you pay someone with Perot Shvi'it? You're doing business with them, right? Using my fruits of Shvi'it as my payment to my workers, that's doing business with my Perot Shvi'it. What's the difference if I sell them to you or if I pay them to you as payment? Same thing. So says the Gemara, it's going to be considered paying your obligations, your debts with Perot Shvi'it. VeHaTorah Amra, and the Torah has said, le'ochla ve'lo lischora. The fruits of Shvi'it are there. V'haya Shabbat ha'ares lachem le'ochla. The pasuk says, le'ochla, the Shabbat ha'ares, this year of Shvi'it, is for you to eat from the land. It's open for everyone, but not lischora. You cannot do business with it. Ela de kadosh scharam b'kedushat Shvi'it. So must be that the meaning of this is that the schar that you get paid for delivering Perot Shvi'it is kadosh like Shvi'it itself. That means it's tofes, tamea. That means I delivered for you your fruits of Shvi'it from point A to point B. The money, cash that you give me now has the halachot of Shvi'it. I have to buy food with it, and it has shat biur, but wait a second. That can't be either, because of the last thing we discussed yesterday in the shiur, that it says beferush in the Braita. It's black and white that if I sell perot shvi'it, is tofes dameha. If I exchange perot shvi'it with money, then the money takes on the halachot of perot shvi'it. But if I work for you, and you pay me for working with your perot shvi'it, the schar is completely mutar. That's black or white in the Braita. So says the Gemara is going to bring the entire Braita again. Umi kadosh? Really? If I get paid for working with you with perot shvi'it, the schar becomes kadosh? V'hatanya, we learned in Braita, clearly not like that. If I tell you here is $100 and go work in my field with perot shvi'it, put them in baskets, bottle them, whatever it is that you're doing, I'm paying you for working with my perot shvi'it, scharo mutar. Schar is completely mutar. No problem with the schar. If I tell you lekotli yerek bo hayom, if I tell you the word bo, then it's like an exchange. It's not a schar. I'm telling you go find yirakot and sell them to me with this money. Then the tofes dameha. Then it's a sale transaction. It's not the work. So therefore, says the Gemara, scharo asur. But you see from here that if you work for me for perot shvi'it, the money I give you is completely fine. So how can you tell me that the chamarin, the delivery company, or the moving company, is going to get money and the money is going to be a problem? We just learned in the Braita that the money is no problem whatsoever. So it says the Gemara Amar Abaye, Leolam yahvina leschar mi perot shvi'it. Abaye says no. What you seem to reject in the very beginning is taka, the answer. You know what you do? You actually tell him, the moving company, move this from point A to point B, and you end up giving some of those fruits to him as payment. And that's what it means. That's scharan shvi'it, that you could give schar from perot shvi'it itself. You had a question. You had the obvious question that this is considered schora, doing business. No. There is a legal loophole to give the fruits of shvi'it to somebody as payment and still would be mutar. Right? Being Jewish. So how do you do it? Right? What's the loophole? Says the Gemara. You could give it in a mutardik way. Keditnan. As we learned in the Mishnah. This is a Mishnah speaking about maaser sheni, not shvi'it. But it's the same thing. Lo yomar adam lechaviro. You cannot tell your friend when you want to move the fruits of maaser sheni to Yerushalayim, and you need a moving company, right? Ha'aleli perot halalu. You tell him, take these fruits for me to Yerushalayim, up to Yerushalayim, right? Lehelek, and I will give you a helek. I'll give you 10% of the fruits themselves. This way you make sure also that he moves them carefully. You can't do that. Because again, it's Maaser Sheni, you cannot do that. But you could tell him, take these up to Yerushalayim and we will have a feast together. We'll sit and eat and drink it together, right? That you could do. In other words, you're not telling him I'm going to give you 10%. But you end up paying him from what he takes up to Yerushalayim as eating it together. That's how you do it. Because it's like giving matana. And matana, the Mishnah says in Maaser Sheni, that's mutar. V'notni ze laze matana. That will be considered equivalent of giving matana to each other. And that's fine. So just like by Maaser Sheni, you could do that. Says the Gemara, says Abaye, you could do the same thing with shvi'it. In other words, you tell him, move my perot shvi'it from here to there, and scharan shvi'it means, say, once you take it there, we're going to sit and party and have it together. And that's fine, right? He's getting paid because he's having a nice meal or two, and you're okay because you just got your perot shvi'it moved from point A to point B, and you didn't have to pay any cash, you just paid him a part of perot shvi'it and still is mutar.
What if the guy tells you, move the Perot Shvit from here to the market. We're going to go sell it, but you can sit with me and sell it and eat it there.
That the whole thing is asur. Of course, we're not talking about that. So of course, we're not talking about doing it. The question is, the question of the Gemara over here is, what is the problem with chamarim? We're trying to find what is the scenario in which Chazal placed a fine on the moving companies. That's what we're trying to figure out over here, right? So that's mutar. So says the Gemara, the Rava Amar, Rava said, no. This is Abaya and Rava, right? Abaya and Rava. So Abaya said, the first suggestion you gave was correct. You're moving it, you're paying him mamash from Pro Shavi'it, and still is mutar because there's a way that you could do it without any halachic issues. Rava says no. That you cannot do. Leolam de kadosh bikdushat shvi'it. It really is the payment. It becomes kedushat shvi'it. The payment becomes we had a problem from a clear braita. Clear braita. Braita said black on white that if I tell you here is money, go to my garden and gather my fruits of shvi'it together and put them in a basket, that's fine. Right, we just saw that clearly in the Braita. So says Rava, you have that problem because over here we are telling you that the payment for working on Shvi'it becomes kadosh like Shvi'it, and over there in that Braita we said that it doesn't become kadosh like Shvi'it. So it's a head-on stira. Two places. Once you say, if I hire you to go to my backyard and pick all my fruits on Shvit, on Shnata Shemitah, and package them for me, the money that I pay you is mutar. There's no problem with that. That's one braita. And here we are telling you that if you pay a moving company to take your perot shvit and move them from one place to another place, which was a larger amount, but it's the same thing. He's working for you on Shvit, and that somehow becomes asur, that the payment becomes like mamash dalachot of Shvit, has shat piur, has all those problems. It's a head-on stira. Says Rava, no problem. You know what the difference is? The difference is quantity. Says the Gemara, the Rava Amar leolam de kadosh bikdushat Shvit, v'dekakash alecha. The problem that you had, poel, from that worker that does some small job in your backyard, poel de lo nafish agre, a worker that works in your backyard for a small amount, that's not a payment, is not a great payment. Lo kansu Rabban Chazal did not want to place a knas on that because the small things people do for Shvit is fine. Mikar adin is mutar. That doesn't sound like doing business. But when you have like a official delivery, moving company, you're hiring trucks and 18-wheelers to take things from one place, that already, chamarin de nafish agraihu, the official delivery companies, that is, the money involved is a lot, that's already like business. Kansu Rabbanan behu, the Chazal placed a fine on it for making this point and making sure that no one actually does business with them.
Can we spend like 30 seconds explaining the whole idea of like making stuff hefker on Shemitah? Is that relevant?
Well, not really, but the general rule by Shvi'it is that everything you don't plow, plant, and prune, things that are not a necessity for the livelihood of the trees, you don't do. Right? There's the Isur of Sfichim Midrabaran as well. You don't work the land. That's what it says in the Chumash. Right? So you don't do it. But what can you do? Well, it's open for everyone to come eat. You can't do business with them. Right? It's for all, basically. It's open to you. You could take what you want and what you need for your thing. You could even take it home and store it, but only until the Chayat HaSadeh outside is eating it, right? So it becomes a year of rest that you're not doing business. So when it says le'ochla, the pasuk says, "Vayalachem Shabbat haaretz le'ochla." You have it for eating it, for consuming it. You could consume everything that comes up, And it makes a point of saying it, and the Gemara makes a drasha that is only for eating but not for doing business, right? So anything that has a serious connotation of business already raises the concern and the alarm.
The guy you're hiring to pick the vegetables in your backyard, you're going to eat it. The assumption is that you're going to eat it.
You're doing something mutar. So says the Gemara, okay, that's all amazing. So we have two answers, we have Rava, we have Abaye. Awesome. The problem is only one thing. Our Mishnah said that by Yain Nesech, if I have the same guy, hire him to go to my backyard and take 5 barrels of Yain Nesech from this corner to that corner, a small job, still the money is Asur. So make your mind up. Because you tell me by Shvi'it, it's a big thing, small is... But by Yain Nesech, even as small as minutest amount is Asur. Umatnitin, says the Gemara, Chumra de Yain Nesech Shani. Because Yain Nesech has a specific chomer, you're dealing with Avodah Zarah, that Chazal went out of their way that the minutest amount of dealing with Yain Nesech is Tofes Tamea, it makes it Asur Ba'ana'ah, and that's the difference between Yain Nesech and Shvi'it. Shvi'it only raises alarm when it's a bigger job, because it looks like business. But Yain Nesech is because of Avodah Zarah, and because of the chomer, because of the stringency of Avodah Zarah, even the minutest amount, it will be a problem. Fine. The Gemara now says this again. This Mishnah was about literal Yain Nesech. That means the goy is a priest, the high priest, is in the business of blessing the wine in front of the Avodah Zarah, pouring it, sending it to Kabbalah Center for the wine of the week, and selling. So that's mamash Avodah Zarah, right? But how about if you don't have exactly Yain Nesech, but you have Stam Yeinam? Stam Yeinam you have. Stam Yeinam means a wine that the goy touched. It was not poured in front of Avodah. It wasn't used actually for Avodah Zarah. So it's a notch down. How about that? If I worked with moving, in a winery, it's a regular Stam Yeinam. No Avodah Zarah, no nothing. And now I'm getting payment for that. Is that mutar or asur? If it was Yain Nesech, we just said that even the delivery man is in trouble, right? Now how about, come one notch down in the Isur, Stam Yeinam, and this is something that we deal with, of course, on a regular basis. So says the Gemara, they had a question to bit with us. If the goy hired the Jew for Stam Yeinam, then what? Do we say because Yain Nesech and Stam Yeinam have the same halacha when it comes to Asur B'Hana'ah? Both of them are Asur B'Shtiyah, you can't drink them. Both of them are Asur B'Hana'ah, you cannot benefit from them. That we know. And this is one of the only things that becomes Asur B'Hana'ah like this. So maybe because they share the same chumrah of Isur Shtiyah and Isur Hana'ah, they should be the same halacha over here as well. Scharo nami asur, so therefore the payment you get for working with it should also be asur. O dilma hoil v'tuato kil, af scharo nami kil. Maybe, as we had before, about 20 dapim ago, for those who remember, we had that Yain Nesech is actually not just asur, but it's tameh, right? Yain Nesech makes actual tum'ah like a corpse, like tum'at mit. And it's much more chamur than Stam Yeinam. Stam Yeinam also is tameh. But Yain Nesech is tameh tum'at mit. So if metameh be'ohel, if you have a little jog of Yain Nesech in this room, the whole room becomes tum'at mit, mamash. Right? Zivche metim. The Gemara dashed it from that pasuk. And how much of it do you need to make tum'ah, to create tum'ah? Kazait. Little kazait is enough, right? But by Stam Yeinam, the two elements of kula. A, it's not like tumat mit. It doesn't have any of those things of tameh be'ohel and so on and so forth. It's just like a mashkin shenagu be'sheretz. It's like drinks, any other drinks that touched a sheretz of tum'ah. So a much lower level of tum'ah. And also, how much of it do you need to create the tum'ah? Revi'it halog. You need a revi'it for it. So the tum'ah of stam yinam is much more kal than the tum'ah of actual yain nesech. Stam yinam is much less than. So maybe because you see the difference in halachot of tum'ah, you see that is much less of a problem to deal with stam yinam than yain nesech. And maybe therefore schar should be mutar. So we have the element of similarity, we have the element of difference, and we are scratching our heads. Okay, I know with yain nesech, if I work for you, the schar you pay me is going to be asur b'ana. How about stam yinam? Says the Gemara, Tashma. Ta'u gavra de agur arbe, the stam yinan, a fellow that rented his boat for stam yinam, right? For a goy to carry and deliver stam yinam in it, and yabu lechiti. As payment, they paid him a pile of chitim, of wheat. And then, meanwhile, he had come to Amud Yomi, and they were doing Avodah Zarah, Daf Samech Bet, and now he really doesn't know what the schar is. He goes to Rav Chisda. Atal gabe Rav Chisda. So what do I do with this chitim? Mutar, asur. You know, I rented my my boat, and lo and behold, they end up using it for stam yinam. So what do I do with this chitim? Amaleh, he said to him, you ready for this? Zil kalinu vekavrinhu. Go burn them up completely, and then after you burn them up, you have to bury them also. Right? So there you go. That's your answer. You want to know it's mutar asur deschar? Asur. Right? Now the Gemara says, what do you have to go do all? You have to burn them and bury them. What do you have to do that? Badrinhu. Why don't you just burn them and spread the ashes on the 7 seas? Like, you know, what do you have to bury them? Says the Gemara, Atu beuli de takala. Because people are going to, if it's mamash asur ba'ana'ah, it's going to be a stumbling block for people. If you just spread the actual chitim, the wheat, you spread them, then before you burn them, then it's going to become a problem because people are going to eat or plant, or their chicken is going to eat it. People are going to have hana'ah from it. It's asur ba'ana'ah. It's a problem. Then the Gemara says, okay, first burn them and then spread them away. That's already nobody's going to use them. So the Gemara says, that people are going to still be able to use it for. It has minerals, it has other things. It's good for fertilization. So that's still a problem. So you can't do that either. The Gemara says, dig deep and just bury them in the ground. And they're not going to grow because it has to be on the surface of the ground for it to grow. It just rots away when you put it deep in the ground and you bury it. Milotenan, didn't we learn? Echad even sheniskal ba, ve'echad etz shenitla ala, ve'echad saif shenerag bo, ve'echad sudar shenechnak bo. The Mishnah says in Sanhedrin, when we have arba mitot bedin, you have arba mitot bedin, the vessels, the tools that are used for arba mitot bedin, we don't use them afterwards. We hide them away. We do geniza and then we bury them. So it doesn't make a difference what it was. Any of the methods that you used, if you used avanim for skila, right, for stoning, the avanim cannot just be laying around there. We bury them. Etz shenitla alav, if you hung somebody, the whole beam, the whole thing has to be buried under the ground. Chat saif shenerakbo, you kill somebody besayif with a sword, that sword cannot be used again, right? Ve'chat sudar shenechnakbo, if you use chenek, they would have like a very soft garment, because the Gemara says you don't want to inflict any extra pain that's not due, right? So what do we say? But that sudar shenechnak kulam nikbarim imo, you buried with the person, with the harug. So you do it because they're asur ba'ana'ah, and you don't want them to be laying around. So you bury them. So you see, isurei hana'ah, you bury them. You're not saying, maybe someone is going to dig out this sword and you don't say that. So says the Gemara, Hatam, the kakavri bebedina. There, the Gemara says not a problem because there you're burying it in the bedin. It's the maaseh bedin, right? The bedin is doing it, and people know that this guy that was killed was buried with this is isura ana. No one's going to touch it. People know that that's asur ba'ana. You know the bedin is doing it. They're doing the right thing. It's that's it. Muchamilta. It's clear when you see the Af Bedin and the Ra'abad and the Ga'abad and all, they're going to bury something. If a person sees it, this person that they're burying must be the Harug Bedin, and therefore the Saif, the sword and everything else is Asur Ba'ana'ah. They don't think that you're burying some rich person and their grandfather's, uncle's, first cousin's sword with them, that they're going to go dig it out and say, I got a free sword. Everyone's going to know that this is Asur Ba'ana'ah and no one is going to touch it, right? So says the Gemara, Hacha, Lo Muchamilta. If your next door neighbor sees you in the late in the evening digging the ground, and then they bring their binoculars to make sure what you're doing, and they see you put a whole box of something inside the ground, they think, you stole it from next door neighbor, and I'm gonna go be gonev mina ganav. I'm gonna go, it's stolen goods anyways. I'm just gonna go take it afterwards and dig it out. So that becomes a problem. Lo muchamilta emor inish. People who may see this, they will think to themselves, Ganavaiti kavracha. He stole and he's burying it over here, and they may come to actually dig it out, and that becomes a problem. And and therefore, it's going to be asur to just bury it. You have to burn it first and then bury it. And that maaseh in the Gemara, in any case, teaches us that even by stam yenam, the schar will be asur ba'ana'ah, and we will continue B'ezrat Hashem this in the days to come. Hazak u'baruch.